Welcome back to this channel. In this particular episode of the lesson, you're going to learn how to read data from a text file. In the immediate past episode, what we look at was how to write data into a file using the print writer. Okay. In this case, you're going to learn how to read data from a text file. In reading data from a text file, two major concepts are involved here. Number one, we'll be using the file class, the file API, to help us to create an object that will represent the file we want to read from. Okay, so let's assume we want to call that object file. We use the method, sorry, the operator new to create memory location for this file object. Okay, so within this parenthesis, what we will need to pass on is the name of the file, which will include its extension, txt. Okay, yes. So when you have done this, it means that the label file, which is an object for the class file, is going to be a representation of this text file in here. This is the file that contains the data for which we would want our application to read from. Okay, so the object file is going to represent this the file you have created, and we have labeled it as the name of the file. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, which is the second and the last thing, is to have the scanner class. Now, what is the scanner class going to do here again? In our earlier concept on how to read input from the keyboard, we use the scanner class. So the scanner class helps us to read input from the keyboard. In this case, we will not want the scanner class to read input from the keyboard, but to read input from the file. Okay, so to read input from the keyboard, we use the system.in. Okay, so system.in as an argument or a parameter here did represent the keyboard. Now, because we do not want to read from the keyboard but read from the file, we pass on the file object to the scanner class. Okay, I hope this is clear. So we are not using system.in because our focus is not to read data from the keyboard, but to read data from what? From the file. It is the file that has the data we want to read from. So we will pass on the file object as an argument to the scanner class to read from it. If we wanted to read from the keyboard, then in place of where we have file, we put what? We put system.in. All right, so great. Now quickly we move on to the NetBeans environment, and then we see how we can do this directly in the Java application itself. Okay, so in the previous episode, we wrote this code to help us write data into a file, and then the name of the file was what? Students. If you didn't watch this video, you can go back to the very past video on how to write data into a text file. Okay, so now what we want to do is to read data from this file. So let's see, we have the file here, test file here. It has hello John as the first line of statement. Hello my sandwich friends, glad to meet you all. I think the number of times that we ran the code did repeat these codes. All right, so what we want to do is to write a code block that will read all of these statements. Okay, but what we're going to do now, it can read only and then just the first line. I'll explain it further as we move on. Okay, so we come to this side in the code, because we want to use the scanner class. We'll have to import java dot the utility class scanner. This is the class we want to use. So outside of this, we create the file. We make reference to the file class. We create a file object. We create memory for it using the new operator. And then over here, we pass on the name of the test file you want to read from. So I'll copy this and then paste it here. It should be in the double quotes. Okay, so let's terminate this line. Now we need to use the scanner class to create an object for it. Nope. New scanner. So we created an object for the scanner class. We called it what? SC. What do you want to, where do you want to read from? Is it the keyboard or from the file? You want to read from the file. So we type in the name of the class files object. See? So the name of the class file is file. The name of its object, we called it file, but we just use a lowercase f. Okay, so now we want to read the input from the file. What do? We create a string object, and then we may want to call that, let's say, data. Oops, we want to call that data, and then we use the object sc to make reference to. Nope. We would want to receive the input. So because they are all in the form of a string, we use next line to receive the input. Okay, so when you go to the test file, we realize that the input we have here is what? It's a string. Okay, so we created a string variable to receive the input, and then to be stored in that string variable, and then to be printed out. Okay, so now what we want to do on the next line is to print it out. Whatever's the first string that will be received into data, we want to print it out. Okay, so we use system.out.print, out.print new line, and then data. Okay, bam. So let's save this code and then try it out. We're running it. And build success. We have a build success. So let's see. It printed hello John. Hello John, is that correct? So let's go to the file. Yes, it printed hello John. It didn't print hello my sandwich friends, glad to meet you all. Why didn't it print? Yes, because we have not written our code so then they can read every line in the code. So with this, what we have here, it is going to print only and just the first line of statement or the first string in the test file. Okay, so stay on whilst I teach again in the next episode how to read all of the lines or all of the statements in the test file. If you have any questions on this, leave them in the comment section below. I'll answer them all. Thank you.